A Chicago group screams to let off some steam.
Slap cheek disease, it did look like I was slapped across both cheeks.
Concerns for pregnant women and new parents as a little-known respiratory virus spreads, and why a new Coke with real sugar may not be a healthy alternative. Welcome to Eye on Health, where we focus on stories that affect your physical and mental well-being. I'm Bradley Blackburn. We begin with President Trump's health. Questions were raised earlier this month when the president's ankles appeared quite swollen as he watched the Club World Cup final in New Jersey. Trying to put an end to the speculation, the White House released results of an examination by the president's medical team and a diagnosis of a vein disorder. Ed O'Keefe is at the White House with details.
The White House now admits the president himself had become concerned about swelling in his lower legs in recent weeks, and out of what it calls an abundance of caution, he was evaluated by White House doctors. He's been diagnosed with a condition known as chronic venous insufficiency, a mostly harmless and common condition in people older than 70 that is not life-threatening. The president is 79.
So most patients with chronic venous insufficiency will have a pretty benign course. It's not a life nor a limb-threatening condition. And what happens is you have valves in your veins that help to return blood to your heart. And over time, for a variety of reasons, those valves may fail, which can cause blood to pool in the legs. And a consequence of that can be leg swelling.
A memo released by the White House physician says there's no evidence of deep vein thrombosis or arterial disease. And that memo also addresses swelling in his hands that had been noticed first back in February. It was evident again as he spoke with reporters here at the White House. You could see makeup covering up what appeared to be bruising on his hand. The White House says that that's just minor soft tissue irritation due to shaking too many hands and because the president takes aspirin. The president underwent a medical exam back in April and was deemed to be in excellent health. Ed O'Keefe, CBS News, the White House.
Coca-Cola has announced a new line of Coke coming this fall, made with the real thing, American cane sugar. Scientists say it's not healthier, but it could be good for business and create some perfect harmony with the White House. Tom Hansen reports.
Coca-Cola once dubbed itself the real thing. Now it's living up to the name. Beginning this fall, the beverage giant says it will add cane sugar to a new line of its signature soda in the U.S. The announcement comes less than a week after President Donald Trump, a big fan of the fizzy drink who even has a dedicated Diet Coke button in the Oval Office, said he pushed the beverage giant to make the change. This will be a very good move by them, Trump said on social media. You'll see, it's just better.
For the big, for the small.
Coca-Cola uses cane sugar to sweeten its cola in many parts of the world, but since the 1980s, the company has been using high-fructose corn syrup, a lower-cost alternative, in the U.S. Back in April, Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. condemned the use of added sugar in food and drink.
Sugar is poison, and Americans need to know that. It is poisoning us.
Coca-Cola and the Food and Drug Administration have always maintained high-fructose corn syrup is safe to consume. Still, while the taste of cane sugar may be different, many nutrition experts say the health risks of both sweeteners are largely the same.
I'm just worried that people might think of this as a healthier choice or put this health halo around soda and then start to drink more of it. And we know that ultimately sugar is sugar no matter how you sprinkle it. And is this going to make a huge impact? Not necessarily.
Now, the Coca-Cola CEO said that this offering in the U.S. would, quote, complement what the company currently sells. And Coke already uses cane sugar in some of its American products, as well as the Coca-Cola that is made in Mexico, which, of course, you've been able to get here since 2005. Tom Hansen, CBS News, New York.
More than 100 human rights groups are calling on Israel to end its blockade of food, water, and medical supplies into Gaza. The United Nations official says more than 1,000 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli forces since May while trying to access food, a casualty number they say does not come from Hamas.
Even when the UN has tried to take trucks, when there's such starvation, people are jumping over trucks and trying to get food. It's natural. I'm sorry, there are people dying of starvation. They have two choices. Either jump on those trucks, get shot and killed, or die of starvation.
Elizabeth Palmer spoke to a doctor who has seen the struggle in person. We want to warn you, some of the images are disturbing.
Since May, when the U.S.-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation picked up the lion's share of food distribution, the UN says almost 900 people have been killed, most of them shot. The Israeli military rarely gives details, but one thing is clear. Gazans are literally dying for food. Dr. Victoria Rose was working as a surgeon in Gaza until last month. Why, though, is there gunfire around a food distribution point at all?
I think you have now reduced the population to such a level of depravity that they are prepared to die for food.
Wherever they go for food, there are guns. The UN says just over 2 million people are now crowded into 12% of Gaza, and the military is everywhere else. Hungry and desperate, a crowd had swarmed a UN truck aid convoy in northern Gaza, and once again, soldiers opened fire. 67 people were killed. Here is one of the extreme casualties of that aid crisis. This is Yazan Abu Foul, 2 years old. His family haven't been able to give him the nutrients he needs, and he is starving. Everyone else in Gaza is hungry. Elizabeth Palmer, CBS News.
COVID-19 cases are increasing in more than half of the United States, according to the CDC. Michael George has more, including a spike in serious cases for young children.
The latest CDC data shows the number of COVID-19 cases is now growing or likely growing in at least 27 states. And COVID-related emergency room visits for young kids are the highest they've been since March.
But we see this with a lot of illnesses. There's a winter spike, there's a summer spike.
Dr. John LaPook is the CBS News chief medical correspondent.
But people should not be blasé about it, okay? COVID, if it strikes you, especially for the vulnerable, and we're talking about very young, children under the age of 4, the elderly, people who are immunocompromised. There are millions of people who are immunocompromised out there. They can really get sick.
As for whether people should be getting vaccinated for COVID-19,
we're in a kind of an odd period right now because the CDC has a little bit of a different recommendation for vaccination than the major societies, like the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, who say that pregnant women should get vaccinated. When the baby is born, before they can get a shot, they're really relying on the mother's immunity. Secretary Kennedy said it's now shared decision-making. But it's a little bit of a different recommendation than just saying, go get it. And they're saying also the same thing for healthy kids.
And while new variants continue to pop up, Dr. LaPook says they're no more deadly, and vaccines made for the last season cover them. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
A little-known respiratory virus is spreading mainly among children and can be dangerous for pregnant women. Parvovirus, also known as fifth disease, doesn't always have obvious symptoms, so the CDC says pregnant women might want to consider wearing masks in crowded areas. Stephanie Stahl has more.
She is perfect.
Jackie Blaylock was worried about her newborn baby Charlotte, who was delivered 2 weeks early because of a parvovirus infection.
Once she was out of the womb, then there was no threat.
Jackie, who's a special ed teacher in South Jersey, says the respiratory infection spread through her school and that 7 students had confirmed cases in her class.
Sitting at the same table with them is probably how I got it. Luckily, my school nurse knew a lot about it. No one had any idea what it was.
The CDC says parvovirus B19 symptoms are mild or non-existent. The most common sign of infection is a facial rash.
The nickname is slap cheek disease. It did look like I was slapped across both cheeks.
And you had no other symptoms?
No.
A blood test confirmed her case, and while it's usually not dangerous, parvovirus can be for pregnant women.
I was panicking for, my unborn daughter.
There is a risk that the virus can pass across the placenta and infect the baby.
Dr. Janani Jayakamaran with Virtua Health says parvovirus B19 can cause serious complications, even death for an unborn baby. The CDC says there's been a continued increase in cases among teenagers and young adults, with the noted risk to pregnant women.
They recommend that patients consider masking, as well as do standard hygiene things such as washing your hands.
I wish I had known ahead of time. I would have wore a mask.
Parvovirus is more commonly associated with an infection that affects dogs, but it can't be spread between people and animals. Did you know it could happen to people?
Not at all.
Doctors say Charlotte, who's a month old now, is fine. Stephanie Stahl, CBS News.
Coming up, how understanding your personality could pave the way to a better workout, and concerns about pilots' mental health. Welcome back. When it comes to fitness, how you move may depend on your mind. New research reveals your personality could predict your perfect workout. Tina Kraus has the story from London.
It turns out mindset might matter more than muscles when it comes to sticking with a workout.
There's a pattern here that we're seeing with extroverts being really attracted to high-intensity sessions.
Dr. Flaminia Ronca with University College London says personality plays a powerful role in how and whether we exercise.
The way our brain is wired determines how we behave.
She and her team put more than 100 volunteers through the paces at their lab, tracking how personality affected their approach to fitness, looking at 5 traits, including extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, neuroticism, and openness.
People who are quite conscientious had a very well-rounded fitness. They don't skip leg day. You know, they do everything that they're supposed to do because they know they have to do it. Whereas the extroverts were incredibly fit on the endurance side, but they didn't score that well on strength because they just did what they enjoyed. They're drawn to what stimulates them.
Because I'm an extrovert, I like to test myself.
So your sunshine. Neil Turner took part in the study and says understanding his own personality has changed how he trains.
I'm never going to be the fastest up a mountain, and I'm definitely not going to be the prettiest, but I can achieve my own personal goals.
Dr. Ronca says it's important to note personality traits can overlap.
So I could be very neurotic, but also very conscientious. And so I'm more likely to engage in exercise because I know it's good for me, and so I'm going to make sure I keep doing it.
A reminder that fitness is a personal path, and tapping into your personality could help chart a course that sticks. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.
There's been a huge uptick in ticks. According to the CDC, emergency room visits for tick bites are at the highest level since 2019.
It's been a really hot year for ticks. We're seeing numbers that are generally about 30 to 40% higher than we saw last year, for example.
Dr. Tom Daniels is leading students from Fordham University through the woods north of New York City to track and sample different ticks.
A big part of our issue with Lyme disease and these pathogens is the fact that we have moved into tick habitat. The wildlife is here, the ticks are here, and now we're here, and that raises our risk.
If you do find a tick, try to remove it with tweezers and put it in a jar, and see a doctor if symptoms develop.
Only about 3 or 4% of ticks carry Lyme. And so again, I don't think people should think that every time there's a tick bite, you're going to get sick. It's only a small minority of tick bites that get people sick from one of these diseases. Nevertheless, there's so many ticks and so many tick bites in certain areas. If you go hiking in the woods in the Northeast right now, and you don't do anything to protect yourself, it would not be unusual to see that individual come back with 5 or 10 ticks all over their body.
The CDC estimates nearly 500,000 people are diagnosed and treated for Lyme disease each year in the U.S. 2 years ago, an off-duty Alaska Airlines pilot tried to turn off the engines of a plane mid-flight after he was feeling the effects of magic mushrooms. The case has reignited a conversation about pilots and their mental health. Chris Van Cleve spoke with that pilot, Joseph Emerson, who is set to be arraigned on a series of federal charges next month.
Were you trying to crash that plane?
No, I had no intention of crashing an actual airplane. I wanted to wake up. I was convinced I wasn't going home to my wife and kids.
Making no excuses, former airline captain Joe Emerson takes us back to October 2023 and the night that changed his life. He says he'd been grieving the loss of his best friend and had turned first to alcohol.
I wish that I was self-aware to see how my behavior was affecting others and to not let it get to the point where I'm dealing with life by, let's try a psychedelic now. Who does that at 44 years old? Apparently I do.
Did you have a sense something wasn't right?
No, I had everything under control.
Except he didn't. 2 days after trying those magic mushrooms, he boarded a flight off duty as a passenger from Everett, Washington to San Francisco.
I am in all-out panic and fear. This isn't real. You're not going home.
It was a full flight, 83 other passengers and crew on board, so he was in the cockpit jump seat.
You're not going home. You need to wake up. And that's when I acted. And I pulled the handles that were in front of my face.
Those handles cut off fuel to the engines in the event of a fire.
Did you know what those handles would do?
I mean, in the dream, in this dissociative state, I thought they were going to wake me up. It didn't wake me up, right? I was in reality. I know that now. You know, it's the most consequential 3 seconds of my life.
The flight crew stopped him.
We've got the guy that tried to shut the engines down out of the cockpit.
The flight diverted and landed safely in Portland, Oregon. Emerson was arrested, but the incident sparked a growing debate over pilot mental health. Disclosing mental health issues can lead to a pilot being grounded by the FAA, putting their ability to work at risk for an extended period of time, often lasting years. A 2022 study estimated 56% of pilots avoid seeking medical care due to fear of being grounded.
I came to an understanding or a misunderstanding that I needed to be perfect on paper. Like I needed to show up and appear perfect, no matter what else was going on for me.
The NTSB has since held a first-of-its-kind pilot mental health forum, and the FAA launched a review of its policies. Both called for changes to address barriers to care.
The goal really simply is to make our skies safer and make our pilots safer. That's it.
Illinois Democrat Sean Casten and Minnesota Republican Pete Stauber are leading an effort in Congress to enact those reforms within 2 years and hire additional medical examiners.
Our pilots and the air traffic control workers are not going to lose their job when they ask for help. We in this country must recognize that that's strength, and then they ought not to be punished. We're going to help them, process them, and get them back in the cockpits.
The bill would maintain the FAA's rigorous process for determining a pilot is safe to resume flying, but aims to cut through red tape and increase transparency. It has unanimously passed the House Transportation Committee and has the backing of two of the nation's biggest pilot unions. The FAA declined to comment on the bill. Emerson says he takes responsibility for his actions. He is facing more than 80 state and federal charges. He and his wife have begun a nonprofit, Clear Skies Ahead, aimed at improving pilot health and wellness. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Phoenix.
After the break, the stings that bring pain relief. Welcome back. What you're seeing and hearing is Scream Club Chicago, a group that lets off steam with a scream. The club meets on the edge of Lake Michigan every weekend, where they breathe in deeply and collectively yell into the abyss.
I was having a real bad day with my partner one day. We were walking by the lake, and I just said to her, "Hey, do you want to go scream by the lake?" And she was like, "Yes, let's do it."
That's how founder and breathwork coach Manny Hernandez started this group, and it grew in popularity even before the first scream.
There were a few people sitting around, and I just said, "Hey, look, we're about to scream into the lake. I'm so sorry to bother you. Do you want to join us?" And they were like, "Yes, absolutely." So I got like 4 people that day just on a whim, and we screamed into the lake. A few people cried, and then I looked right at my girlfriend. I was like, "I think this is something that we got to start." And Scream Club was born.
Attendees say this is the perfect outlet to let go, relieve stress, and even make some friends.
After doing this, I become more happier, a lot happier. And in fact, I get to meet a lot of people who are going through, different things, and, there's no judgment here. It's just a few people just getting it out of the system.
Mental health experts say there is no evidence that primal therapy, as it's known, has significant long-term benefits, but it has been around for decades and was used by John Lennon and Yoko Ono in the 70s. To a different type of therapy, and one that will have you buzzing. A growing number of people in Kenya are trying bee sting therapy in an effort to ease their chronic pain. Patients with conditions like arthritis, stroke-related complications, and endometriosis use bee venom to stimulate the body's response. Bees are placed on specific parts of the body and removed after they deliver their sting.
4 to 10 bee stings per session.
Stephen Kamani founded Bella Farm Africa. Each session costs about $4. Scientists in Kenya who study bee venom say there are some promising lab studies, but patients, especially those allergic to bees, need to understand the risks.
The major compound of the honeybee venom, which is a peptide called melittin, has several health benefits. It has antimicrobial properties, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and even anti-cancer.
Some patients know this therapy is outside the norm, but they are looking for answers after traditional treatments fail. Switching to a more friendly animal story, it turns out tortoises are hiding a soft side under those hard shells. New research reveals the reptiles can experience emotions like optimism and positivity. Scientists in England studied 15 red-footed tortoises, putting them through a series of cognitive tests, exposing them to new objects and unfamiliar environments. They found tortoises who made more optimistic decisions were less anxious, and those with enriched habitats broke out of their shells and wanted to explore and engage.
If you have a pet tortoise and you understand that tortoise has feelings, you're going to put more time, effort and energy into looking after it in the best way.
Since some tortoise species can live for up to 200 years, researchers say understanding their emotions and mental well-being is key to giving them the quality of life they deserve. Children whose hands and arms are a bit different are climbing to new heights. Stephanie Stahl shows us how these kids are learning adaptive rock climbing skills and creating bonds with others just like them.
Yep, I'm ready.
10-year-old Nate Brandt is clipped in and hits the wall, climbing to new heights, working around his left hand that's small, something he was born with that he's given a nickname.
I usually call it a lucky fin.
A lucky fin, I love that.
It sometimes gets annoying, like, explaining it because people always, ask.
He explains it's just part of who he is, something that doesn't stop him here at Camp Rock for children with hand and arm differences.
This could mean any combination of things. It could be shortened limb, larger limbs, missing fingers.
Megan Penke is an occupational therapist at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia who created this camp for patients like Noah Hanko, who has a congenital disorder that causes an overgrowth of his hands.
Sometimes I can't open jars and stuff.
Okay.
And also it's small buttons I can't do.
But he has no problem on the rock climbing wall and doing crafts surrounded by other children who know what it's like to be different, who get used to the comments and questions.
Wow, those are big hands. What happened?
And what do you say?
God created me that way.
In addition to having fun, this camp is also designed to help the kids build confidence.
Hopefully impact their overall self-concept and confidence in life, so they just understand that they really can move forward and do anything that they want to do in life.
But it sort of feels really weird and uncomfortable for me.
Right.
In some positions.
Kennedy Bracken, who has a birth injury to her shoulder, is excited about rock climbing, where she's conquering fears.
I am afraid of heights, and it's scary to look down a little bit, but I'm a lot less scared than I was on the first day.
Learning it can be fun to overcome challenges.
I love Camp Rock. It's amazing.
A place where differences are embraced and empowered. Stephanie Stahl, CBS News.
The incredible strength of kids. That's Eye on Health for this week. I'm Bradley Blackburn. Thanks for joining us, and be well.